students. I am Dr. Shikha Pandey, Associate Professor from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So today in this discussion, I'm going to discuss about this natural resource and their classification, living and non-living resources. So we are going to discuss about the classification of natural resource. Classification of natural resource on a broad way, like it's a classification on the basis of origin, on the basis of availability, on the basis of renewability. So we are going to discuss about all these classification in this lecture. So first of all, we should start with the resource. Means what is resource? Like resource, what it is, what exactly it means. So resource means all the material available in our environment which help us to satisfy our needs and wants. So those by which means by the use of these resources we satisfy our need and we satisfy our expectation, that is called as resource. And on the basis of its availability and on the basis of its manufacturing, it is divided into two categories, that is human made resources and natural resources. So human has created some resources for their comfortability of life. So human resources are those resources that are obtained by modifying natural resources by humans. Means human will modify all these resources for their use, for their means. And its example is iron, steel and aluminum and some buildings, bridges. So human has made the buildings and bridges by modifying some natural resources like iron and steel. So these are human made resources. Iron, steels are natural resources, and by modifying these natural resources, human has created buildings, bridge, shop, market and all these things. So with the help of natural resources, human has created some resources. So that resource is called as man-made resource. And now comes to the natural resource. Natural resource are those resources that exist without any action of humankind. For example, oil, coal, natural metals, all means those resources which exist naturally in this environment, which is present in the by the virtue of environment, like forest resource, mineral rock, water resource, land resource are all are the example of natural resource. These are those resources which present naturally in this biosphere. So now coming to the details of the natural resource. Natural resource can be defined as the variety of goods and the services provided by nature which is necessary for our day-to-day life. Means all those good which are present in the nature that will satisfy our needs is called as natural resource. All those resources which satisfied our need and our growth and all these things are called as natural resource, and those resources, these are available naturally in this environment. And its example is plant, animal, microbes, all living and non-living parts, and air, water, soil, whatever we are interacting daily, whatever present naturally in this environment and we are interacting with these daily are called as natural resource. We are interacting with air, water, soil and everything. These are the resource which is present, which is given by nature to the environment, to us. These are called a natural resource, and we are doing our daily activity by interacting with these resources. So these are called as natural resource, and that is very important for our sustainability of life, to sustain our life, to be main functioning of our life, and to satisfy our need. That resources is very much important, and they are essential. They are essential for the fulfillment of our physiological, social, economical and cultural needs at individual level and at community level. So that those resources which are provided by nature to us, like air, water, soil, whatever, it may be living or non-living, both of this, and that resource will satisfy our need and all these things, and these are essential and these are very important for the fulfillment of physiological, social, economical and cultural needs at individual level and at community level. These are so this is the significance of natural resource. Natural resource is very much important for a person's sustainability into this world, for this sustainability into this environment, because every person is interacting daily with some man-made resource or some natural resource. So resource is very important for the sustainability of a person. of a human, of a animal, of any person, of any living being present in this nature. So that's why it is defined as a variety of goods and services that is provided by nature to us for our sustainability, for our day to day life, is called as natural resource. Now comes to the classification of this natural resource. Actually, natural resource is classified on the basis of its used. So on the basis of its used, it is broadly classified into the non-renewable and renewable source. Non-renewable source that are can only used by once by any organism. That resource by us can used only by once time in their lifetime is called as non-renewable resource. And renewable resource are those resource, like the name suggests, that a re means again, so renewable resource is those resource that can be used by again and again, that can be used by recycling of the resource is so this is renewable resource. We will discuss about all these resources in the incoming slides. And this is the broadly division of natural resource. Broadly, it is divided into non-renewable means those which cannot be renewed, or renewable, those which can be renewed for its again and again use. So basically, this is the broad classification. And renewable can be again divided into resources that are available, that are always available, like wind and water. Wind and water, that is always available. And renewable, like a metal. Metal, we can use it by recycling. But water, we can't recycle. Water is always available in this nature. So this is those resources which are always available, and some resources we can use by recycling. Like this, non-renewable resource are those resource is again divided into two types, like consumed and exhausted. Consumed resource are those resources that is coal, and exhausted resource that is exhausted by overuse of that resource. So this is the classification of natural resource on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, like from where it is originated, like the originated of, like the origin of that resource is again divided into two types. First one is biotic and abiotic. Abiotic are nothing but those resources that are obtained from the biosphere, like forest and their products, animal, birds and their products, fish and marine organism, and coal and petroleum. All these are biotic resource. Means those which are obtained from living things are called as biotic resource. And abiotic resource are those resources that are non-living. As the name suggests, abiotic means non-living, biotic means living. So abiotic are those resources that are non-living, like land, water, air, minerals. Like these are abiotic resources. So abiotic are the non-living resources, and biotic are the living resources. And biotic is the living resources. Biotic resources living, obtained from living organisms, like animal, birds and their products we are consuming, fish we are consuming, and some marine organisms and we are consuming. So these are biotic resources. Abiotic, like air, water, like all these air, we are interacting with air, we are interacting with water, minerals, we are interacting with all these things, and all these are non-living things. So on the basis of their origin, it is divided into two categories, biotic and abiotic. It is clear. And now coming to the next slide, that is again the classification. This is the classification on the basis of their availability. Like on the basis of availability, resources is divided into four parts. First is potential resources, actual resources, stock resources, and reserve resources. So now let's discuss about all these resources in detail. Potential resource are the resource that are available in particular region and can be utilized, and we have hope to utilize it in the future are known as potential resource. So some resource is there that is already available in particular region, but we will utilize that resource in coming future by advancing our technology. So these are called as potential resource. Those resources which have very high potential for its availability in coming future, but we can use it by the use of some high technology. Some high technology is needed for the use of that resource. So this resource is called as potential resource, and its example is petroleum that exists in many part of India, and it is present in sedimentary rock. But until the time it is actually drilled out or put into the same, it remains a potential resource. As we know, petroleum is already there inside the sedimentary rock, but lots of petroleum oil is there inside the sedimentary rock, but it needs some high advanced technology, and when we will harness this, and when we will drill this potential petroleum from these sedimentary rocks, then we can use it for the coming future. And the presence of uranium in the terrains of Ladakh is a second example. Is some uranium is present in the high terrains of Ladakh, but again, due to lack of some technology, we cannot be use this resource. So this resource is called as potential resource. Means we know that there is a potentiality of that resource, and that resource is very much useful for us, but we don't have that much high technology. We need some good technology. We need some highest kind of technology to harness that energy, to bring that resource into that nature for our consumption. This is, and maybe we have hoped for coming future, with using some high advanced energy, with using some high advanced technology, we will make available these into the environment, into our nature. This is called as potential resource. Those resources that have very high potentiality, to use in coming future, but by advancing some energy, but by advancing some our technology, we can only use that resource. This is called as potential resource, and its example is petroleum and uranium in the terrains of Ladakh. Now coming to the actual resource. What is actual resource? Actual resource are the resource where quantity is known, which are being used in the present. We know that how much quantity we are using this in the present, but actual resource are when we are going to survey that resource that it is available in too much amount, that is, and we don't know its quantity and its consistency. So this is called as actual resource. So when we are going to survey, when one person is going to survey that resource, then only they will get the proper idea of how much amount that resource is available in our nature. So its example is coal, water, petrol, and are the actual resource. As current time they are being used, we are using now. But these resource has been surveyed, their quality and quantity has determined and are currently in used. So its examples are natural oil reserves of the Middle East, hydroelectric power of Niagara Falls, and iron ore deposits of the Madhya Pradesh. Actually, we are using that resource, but when we are going to survey, we don't know its actual quantity and its actual consistencies also. Now come to the stock resource. A stock resource that has been surveyed but cannot be used by due to lack of technology. Same again, here the problem is that potential resource means that resource we are already using, but a stock resource is those resources which we surveyed its actual amount, but due to lack of technology we can't use that resource. And it's a perfect example for stock resource is hydrogen. We know that hydrogen has a very good potentiality in coming future, but we can't use hydrogen because we don't have its technology how to use this hydrogen, and we don't have that advanced technology. We are not using a single % of hydrogen. Just understand the difference between potential resource and stock resource. Potential resource we are already using petroleum, but more amount of petroleum is already available in the nature. But when we will advance our technology, we can use that resource. But for stock resource, we are not using a single % of that resource. That is called as stock resource. And its example is petroleum and liquid gas in the Bombay High. In the Bombay High, there is a very much amount of liquid gas and petroleum is there, but due to lack of technology, we can't use that resource. And that is same for the hydrogen. Hydrogen also we are not using, and we know that is a very much helpful in coming future. But let's hope that our technology will go that much advanced, so that we are going to use this hydrogen in coming future, and that liquid gas and petroleum of Bombay High in the in coming future. Now come to the reserve resource. That part of actual resource. Reserve resource means what? That part of actual resource which can be developed profitably in the future is called as reserve resource. Means those resource means reserve resource are that part of actual resource. Actual resource is this resource we are already using that resource, and we don't know when we are going to survey that resource, then we will get the exact proper idea of that resource, ki how much that is present in our nature. So those which are not, we don't have idea about those resource, that is called a reserve resource. That resource which are already reserved in our environment, we have already reserved in our nature. So once we are going to develop our technology in coming future, we are going to use that reserve resource also. This resource which are available and accessible but are not yet being properly and are conserved and used judicially for the future are called as reserve resource. And its example is the river water can be used to generate hydroelectric power, but till now there has been a limited technology. So this is called as reserve resource. Means river water is a very good source of hydroelectric. If we are going to use that river water for the production of hydroelectricity, our dependency on coal for thermal power plant or for electricity will be reduced. But we don't have that much advanced technology, we don't have that much advancement in our technology, so we can't use that river water, and some limitation is there. That's why it is very problematic to use the river for the hydroelectric power generation. And that hydroelectric power generation, if we are going to use in the coming future, that will reduce lots of pollution, lots of solid waste, lots of air pollution, water pollution, because using coal in the thermal power plant for the energy production is very much problematic and causing lots of pollution to the environment. So when we are in coming future, reserve resource will be bring into the nature, and when we are going to use that reserve resource, that is very much helpful for the environment. And it's a perfect example is the river water. We can't use river water for hydroelectric power generation. Then there are some limitation. If some area they are using, but some limitation is there. Now come to the classification of natural resource. So on the basis of renewability means what? Renewability on the basis of again use. Natural resource is divided into two parts. First is renewable and non-renewable. Then renewable are that resource that can be replenished or reproduced easily, that can be again used very easily. Like it's a perfect example for renewable energy resource is sunlight, air, wind. These are and can be continuously available, and their quantity is not affected by human use, by human consumption. How much you are using, their quantity is not going to reduce. For example, sunlight is there, how much we are going to use, how much we are using the air, is neither its quantity will reduce, neither its amount will reduce, and neither it needs some extra technology to you make it again and again into the environment. That is available totally free into this environment, into this nature, are called as renewable energy resources, and that is continuously available without any, and the quantity is also not affected by any kind of disturbance. And now comes to the non-renewable energy resource. That is also that resource that can be bring back to the environment again by some geological process, like mineral and fossil fuel. We are using minerals and fossil fuel, but that is renewable, means non-renewable, that we can't bring them back into the environment. So because their rate of formation of, again, if we are using the coal, if we'll consume all the coal, but so bring back again that coal into the environment will take lots of years, lots of geological time to bring that coal again back to the environment. So this is called as non-renewable energy resource. Now non-renewable energy resource can be again divided into two categories. First is recyclable and non-recyclable. Recyclable are those non-renewable energy resource which can be recycled, but non-recyclable are those which cannot be recyclable. So recyclable and non-recyclable. Recyclable is again bring back to the environment, and non-recyclable is cannot be bring back into the environment. Non cannot be bring back into the environment. So this is called as, and a non example for non-recyclable energy is fossil fuel and uranium that provide 90% of our energy requirement. Fossil fuel, today in today's days we are using coal. Coal is what? It is only the fossil fuel. And the fossil fuel and uranium is fulfilling 90% of our energy need. And that, and after some year we will again, coal is again formed, but it will take lots of geological years, means crores of years. Now, on the basis of availability, natural resource is divided into two parts. First is inexhaustible and exhaustible. So, inexhaustible natural resources are which are present in unlimited quantity in nature and are not likely to exhaust easily. Means those resources which are present in many amount, and it is not going to vanish. It is not going to be used. It will be just like, and its example is sunlight. Sunlight is present in too much amount, and it is not going to reduce, and it is not going to used by human activities, by any activity such as. And now come to the exhaustible resources are those resources which are limited, and it can be exhausted by human use, human activity. Example is coal, petroleum, natural gas. If we are using petroleum and natural gas, after some year it is going to be exhausted. But you are using sunlight, it is never going to be vanished. So this is exhaustible and exhaustible energy resource on the basis of its availability. We are dividing in this slide. We are dividing natural resource on the basis of its availability, and it is divided into two type: inexhaustible and exhaustible. Inexhaustible is nothing but those which are going to be never going to be over again, and it will never be reduced by how much you are going to use. But exhaustible are those which is going to be over after some use, and by human activity it is going to be reduced also. Now, on the basis of distribution, in this slide we have divided natural resource on the basis of distribution, like how it is distributed in the nature. So on the basis of distribution, it is of two types: ubiquitous and localized. Ubiquitous resources are those resources which are found everywhere, like land, air, and water, and sunlight. We can also sunlight also means those resources which are present, which are available everywhere. So this is called as ubiquitous resource, and this is not going to be reduced. This is not going to be affected by human use. Nothing is there. So this is called as ubiquitous natural resource. And some localized natural resource. Now comes to the localized natural resource. Localized natural resource are that are found only at certain place, and that is called as localized resource. For example, is mineral and fossil fuel. Mineral we can see that we can obtain mineral by mining activities. So some mines is there. So if you want to extract minerals from the sedimentary rock, we have to go to the mines. Only it is present in only that place only. That is also in case of fossil fuel also. Coal mine is there. You can go to coal mines, and then you can obtain that coal from the coal mines. For mineral also, you will go to the mining areas. You can go to the mining rocks, and then you will need that. You will get that mineral. But for in the case of land, air, water, sunlight, you will get it everywhere. So this is the division of a natural resource on the basis of its distribution. So on the basis of distribution, first is ubiquitous. That is found everywhere. You can get it everywhere. Everywhere you'll go, you will get sunlight, you will get air, you will get water, you will get land. But localized resource, that is also a resource. That is also a resource that is provided by nature. But you will get that resource only at that place, only at a particular place. And its example is a mineral and fossil fuel. Now, comes to the, as we have discussed about the natural resources and how division and classification of natural resources, now come to the problem of natural resources. Actually, for our basic need, for our survival, natural resource is very important for the survival of a human being into this planet. So we have to use this natural resource in a sustainable manner, in a sustainable way, or like, for it will fulfill the need of present generation, and it should be fulfill the need of coming generation also. So there are some problem that is associated with the natural resource, like by why this natural resource is going to be depleted, by which reason it is going to be polluted. Due to pollution, it is going to be reduced. By the more and more consumption of these resources, it is going to be very reduced by day-to-day activity. So what is the reason of that, that depletion of natural resources? And first one is unequal consumption. The major part of natural resources are consumed in the developed world. Developed world as those countries that is already developed, like USA. And our country is comes under developing nation, like we are developing. So Asia, we are in Asia, we are coming in the country, India is coming in the category of developing nation. So more and more natural resources are consumed by developed world, because developed world has their very good technology to harness all kind of energy. They have very high technology to provide to for their mining activities, for their fossil, for their extracting fossil fuel, for obtaining oil from petroleum. So these countries, they are using more amount of natural resource than us, than this developing nation, and many resource because of their and the greater human population. And our developing resource nation don't have that much advanced technology, and our population is also more than these countries. So they are unequal consumption. So it comes under the category of unequal consumption of natural resource. Means developed world is using more amount of that natural resource, and we are using in less amount, and our population is also more. So this is the unequal consumption. So the consumption of per capita of the developed countries is up to 50 times greater than in most developing countries. So this is called as unequal consumption of these natural resources. So they are using 50 times more than us of these natural resources. And now comes to the advanced countries have produced over 75% of global industrial waste and greenhouse gases. And energy from fossil fuel consumed is relatively much greater quantities in developed world. So their per capita consumption of food is too much in greater, as well as their waste also. So developed country has developed some good technology to consume these natural resources by their own, and they are using too much amount of these resources. So that is called as, that is like a unequal consumption from the developing world. Now the main basic part of the resources. First one is the main natural resource are forest resource, water resource, and mineral and land resource. Forest resource is those resource that is present, that is given by nature, and the forest can be defined as a biotic community. It is a biotic resource and predominantly by the trees, shrubs, and any other woody vegetation, usually in close canopy. And forests provide us lots of services. Forest is very much important for a human life, and it will provide us wildlife for wildlife habitat, stable soil, recreational activities, and they beautify the environment also. And it will provide wood. Wood is very, very important for us, because with the help of that wood, we'll make our home, we'll make lots of construction is there. So that is, forest resource is very much important for us. That now comes to the water resource. Water resource is also very important for a human activity, for a human life. And water claimed to be the important resource, as important use of water in our country is for irrigation. Water is required for large amount for the industrial and domestic consumption also. Water is important for the irrigation purpose also, but it is important for the industrial and domestic consumption. And the main use of water is the agriculture, industrial, household, recreational, environmental activities, and all require fresh water. Now comes to the mineral resource. Mineral resource is again a very important resource that is provided by nature to the human beings. And these are the minerals are nothing but they are naturally occurring some crystalline solid which uniform chemical composition, which are with the some uniform chemical composition. And mineral is divided into two parts: metallic mineral and non-metallic mineral. Metallic mineral are gold, silver, copper, nickel, and non-metallic mineral are sand, gravel, gypsum already. And all the mineral resource is also associated with the human life. Now come to the land resource. Land resource is regarded as the greatest among the natural resources. It is very important natural resource. It is the important component of our life support system because agriculture is there, irrigation is there, everything is there. That land will provide food to us. Land will provide food to all biotic components like for human and for animal. It will provide shelter for animals, for humans. Land will provide food, shelter, and everything to the basic life. For a basic life, for a biotic component, land is very much important. So in natural resource we have studied four type of resources that is very much important. And in coming lecture we are going to study about all these four resources in details. First is forest resource, land resource, water resource, and mineral resource. All these resources are very much important for human activities, for human life, and it is for survival of a human being. So we are going to discuss about the problem associated with the all resources. What are the advancement in technology for all the resources? What we are going to be used for in the coming future, and what is the value of those resources for the human life? With respect to renewability, like those resources which can be used again or not, on the basis of renewability, on the basis of its again and again use, it can again be divided into two parts. First is renewable, and the example for renewable energy is sunlight, air, water. Means that can be used again and again by a person, by a human activity, by doing their all activities. And non-renewable resources are those resources which cannot be used again and again, and it will take very long geological period to form it again. And that mineral and fossil fuel, that is a example for non-renewable energy resource is minerals and fossil fuel. And for renewable are the example are sunlight, air, wind, etc. And by using these renewable resources, we are very advancement technology. We are using some advanced technology for air, water, and wind. And for wind, we are using wind power. Windmill is there. From air, we are using some advanced technology to get some more energy, because these energy are totally present on the environment. You have not going to use it again and again. So, and it will not going to be reduced, or it will not going to be affected by how much you are going to use. So on the renewable resources can be used for some advancement of energy resources also. And in case of non-renewable energy resource, the rate of formation is extremely slow. They cannot be replenished and they get depleted. So cannot be replenished, it cannot be again used, and it is going to be reduced by the again and again use of these mineral resources. So metallic mineral can be reused by recycling them, but coal and petroleum cannot be recycled. It will again take time for the formation of coal, or it will take time for the formation of petroleum. So this is all about non-renewable and renewable energy resource. And this non-renewable energy resource is divided into recyclable and non-recyclable. So for example, as we have already studied, like metallic mineral can be reused by recycling them, but coal and petroleum cannot be recycled. So here it is going to be divided into two parts: recyclable and non-recyclable. So mineral copper, mercury can be recycled again, but non-renewable resource like fossil fuel cannot be recycled. It cannot be recycled again. Cannot be recycled. And ores of aluminium, copper, and mercury can be recycled, can be used again, but fossil fuel cannot be recycled. It is very, very important to point, like fossil fuel will again form. It is renewable. It comes under the category of renewable. Means It will form after many geological year, but it cannot be going to be used by again and again. So this is called as non-recyclable energy resource. Again, we are going to discuss on the basis of availability, like how much it is available, and how again it will comes in the environment, again come in the environment, come in the nature. So this is, so it comes under the exhaustible and inexhaustible. Exhaustible are those that cannot be, can come, that can be exhausted, that can be going to be over by the human activity, that will going to be vanished by human activity, like coal, petroleum, natural gas. After using by many years, it is going to be over. But sunlight, air and water, it is cannot be going to be over. And coal, petroleum, natural gas will take lots of, it will again come into the environment, but it is going to be lots of year, crores of year, where we can't imagine to use it again. So that it will comes under that category. But if one is going to be used, this is in limited amount. So what the main purpose of studying these natural resources, we have to use these resources in a very limited amount, because it should be make available for the present generation and future generation. We have to use it in a proper manner, so our need will be fulfilled, and our coming generation need should also be fulfilled, because natural resource is a resource that is provided by nature for to the human being for their daily life, daily day to day life, for the consumption, for the day, their beginning of life from to for their consumption of life. So classification on the basis of distribution, that we have already studied. There are natural resource on the basis of renewability, on the basis of availability. Now on the basis of distribution on this planet, distribution of natural resource into the planet, it is of two type: ubiquitous and localized. Ubiquitous are those resources that is available everywhere, like air, water, sunlight. Where you will go, you will find ubiquitous natural resource. But localized resource is those resource that is present only on some particular area, like mineral and fossil fuel. You will go to the mineral ores mining area, you will go to the coal mining area, then you will get that resources. But ubiquitous resource present everywhere, and it is not going to reduce by human consumption, human activity. How much a person is used, how much microbes, how much plant, how much they are using, no problem with it. But localized resource are those resource, it is going to be vanished after too much use, after more consumption, it is going to be reduced. But ubiquitous, no problem, how much you are going to use, how much it is present. So that is air, water, land, sunlight, it is present everywhere. So we are studying this natural resource on the basis of distribution, on the basis of renewability, on the basis of availability, because we have to study about this natural resource, its importance. We have to understand its importance, how one person is associated with all these natural resources, because this resource is very much important for our life, for the good, beginning of life, for the betterment of life. This resource is very much important, and that resource is provided by nature to the human being. So we can't over consumption of these natural resources, because after over consumption, that resource will not be available for the coming future, for the coming generation. So, and that is also a part. And second thing is that if we are going to use this resource in a limited amount, then we are going to develop some technology, so that we will make available these resources into the environment again. So when we are going to develop our technology in a good and advanced way, so we will make available all these resources into the environment, then we have no problem how much you are going to consume, and our population is increasing day by day. human population in India, and we are coming under developing countries, and developing countries don't have that much, and developing country don't have that much advanced technology to use this natural resource into the environment to harness all energy from all these natural resources. So, and developing countries has population more, so for using these natural resources for every person use, for coming generation use, we have to use it in the limited amount, and no misuse should be there for this energy and this natural resource, because that is provided by nature to us, and only not for a particular generation, it is for all, for coming generation also. So it is a, so developed country is already using more amount of natural resources, and the one drawback of using high technology into these resources, some more waste is there, more pollution is there, so they are polluting more also the environment. So natural resource would be used by every country, each and every person, but it should be in a sustainable manner, it should be in a normal manner, like we are going to fulfill our present need, it will going to fulfill the future need also. And fossil fuel consume in relatively much greater quantities in developed country, and their per capita consumption for food is also too much than our uh, developing countries, and their waste production is also too much than this developing country. So if we are going to use more fossil fuel, more resources, more waste is there, you need more advanced technology to consume this waste, to reduce this waste. So if we are going to be, if you are doing more research on your energy resources, you have to do research on their waste management also, on their recycling process also, because recycling will take long time. If you will do more research on recycling process, you will do more research on their waste management process, it will going to be very helpful for that natural resources, for the, and that is the best way to use natural resources in a sustainable manner. Sustainability is nothing but use that resource in a sustainable manner, like fulfill your present generation also, and try to reduce the waste generated from that resource, and try to reduce the consumption, try to reduce the waste of that resources, and try to reduce the pollution due to that waste, try to reduce that over consumption of that natural resource. This is the, and that is the basic main problem associated with the natural resource, because people are using too much of this natural resources, and that will provide, that will get affected that resources, and that is the over consumption of that resources, and it is going to be reduced in the coming future. So this is the main problem associated with the natural resource. So now thank you, we have in this slide, in this lecture, we have discussed about the natural resource, their classification on the basis of renewability, on the basis of availability, on the basis of consumption, on the basis of human use, and the main four type of resources there, that is forest resource, water resource, land resource, and mineral resource. All these resources are very much important for human life, and the main conclusion for this lecture is to use all these resources in a sustainable manner, so that it is going to be used by the future generation also. And for coming lectures, we will discuss about and the all these resources and the problem associated with these resources, and the technology we need to develop more and more advancement for these resources. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.